lot more specific. But yeah, so we have, but those are all fixed prices. So I tell you what you're gonna get. I give you a price that you know you're gonna pay, and we can talk about payment terms. If you can't do it all up front, we'll talk about that, that's fine. Also, I take that. I have my little square.
Now, that's free.
That's right.
For real?
Uh-huh.
When
Well, what you
try
do, so the way it works is, the way Square works is, the reader itself, if you go to Best Buy or Target, you buy it, and then you get credit back for basically for the price. What it does is if you stripe the card, so if you actually have the card and you run it, they charge you 1.75, it goes into the account. They charge you 1.75% to take it from their account to your bank account.
Right.
If you just type in the numbers, because you don't have the card, like you're doing it over the phone, or I've had a guy in New Jersey, I was giving some advice to him, when he was doing his Amex over the phone, it's higher price, so it's 2.75%.
Everything up north is like.
Yeah.
It's not on contract or anything like that.
That's,
like some
that's
other,
true for all
uh,
credit card readers.
services.
Square, the advantage to Square is it's a real fixed price, right? It's real easy to plan for. With some of the others, you get like a credit card reading terminal or whatever, and it depends if you're running a retail business, maybe that's a real advantage. Some of those, the more business you do with them, the lower the price. It's one of these where it's kind of expensive the first couple of times and then it goes down. But or it's a lower percentage, but you have to pay a fixed fee. With Square, it's just a percent.
I have a question, like,
Yes,
I have someone that's making a logo for our shop, so what about like patents and stuff like that?
Okay, so that's the umbrella term lawyers use for all that stuff is called intellectual property. There's 4 big kinds of intellectual property: patents, trademarks, copyrights, and trade secrets. Those are the big 4. Let's skip trade secrets and patents are kind of like the same thing. They're an invention. The way a patent works is you tell it's an arm of the government called the Patent and Trademark Office. You tell the patent part of the Patent and Trademark Office, this is what we've invented. You make what they call the disclosure. It's like it's a statement of claims. And this invention does this thing, and this thing, and this thing, and this thing. And the test is that it has to be new and it has to be useful.
So this,
They have that
just
search.
the idea, I tried to patent something, and what I did was, the idea I had, I wrote it on paper, I mailed it, and sent it back to me.
Yeah.
So it's still sealed, I still got it, you know, so when I do go to see someone, I
That's
hand it to them.
That's designed, and it's because of the way the patent system used to work. The fact that you invented an idea was at least arguably, and it still is a little bit, but it's not as good a defense as it used to be. It used to be an argument to it as a defense to somebody else's patent, right? So you have the idea, somebody else has the same idea, but they get their patent issued faster.
Right.
At least if you've done that, then you have some argument that you did this, that you had, it's a bit of a proof point about where you had the idea. They changed the patent law a couple of years ago, and it's now what we call it's a race to the courthouse. Right, so 20 years from the date of, your patent is for a limited time, it's 20 years from the date of filing. Right, and basically, within broad limits, first to file wins. Right.
I did mine 2000.
Okay. So, but it has to get all the way to the patent office, right? You have to file it with the patent office.
And
So again, okay, so that's patents. The thing about a patent is, you tell the world what your invention is, you get 20 years of protection, and you can keep anybody else in the world from doing, anybody else in the United States. You wanna go to Germany, you gotta get German patent. Anybody else in the United States from doing that same thing for 20 years. And then at the end of that, it's ollie ollie oxenfree, right? Anybody in the world can do that. So what happens if you have an invention that you don't wanna tell the world about? That's where trade secret comes in.
does that apply to a service that you're providing as well?
Yes.
So you can patent a service?
You can patent a method of performing a service. And it's tricky, it's a little different. You can't patent software.
Yeah.
You can patent the algorithm, makes the software work,
Right.
right? So the guys, when I was at Siemens, the guys who ran the MRs, they would get patents on a particular way of visualizing, right? And then what we did is we coded the MR to do what they call a pulse sequence, to run that algorithm and produce an image. And so we get licenses to those patents to be able to program the MR to do that. But the pulse sequence is just right. It's just running a proprietary software on the MR. Same deal. Software is copyrighted, right? So it's like a book. You write it down, but as the fact that Apple has Pages and Microsoft has Word, and then WordPerfect back in the day, or Google Docs, right? There's lots of different ways to write software that does the same thing, right? The only thing that's protected in copyright is is the arrangement of the words, or the arrangement of C+ or whatever Swift or whatever your programming language is. So, yeah, so copyright it lasts forever, because every time Steamboat Willie is about to come out of copyright, Walt Disney goes and gets another 10-year extension. That's why.
Prolix changed the name of it. Well,
Yeah, so that's a patent. It's
Well,
a
they'll
slightly
call it
different
purple,
compound.
yeah.
It's, so copyright is all about the work, a written or visual work, right? Like a movie is copyrighted, a song is copyrighted, a book is copyrighted, software is copyrighted, a picture is copyrighted. So that's all copyright, and it lasts forever. It lasts it's like life of the author plus 70 years or something. It goes on for a long time. It's all about works. Invention is all about, patents are all about inventions. Trademarks are all about the brand, right? So that's your logo, your color. There's a great story in I think it was the New York Times this week about Duke and Kentucky. Their colors are one number off from the Pantone sequence. So Pantone is this like way of coding colors. They're slightly different, but they look almost the same, but they've trademarked slightly different blues. Siemens, the blue that the Siemens name is in is a trademark.
UT Orange is a trademark.
UT Orange is trademarked. The Cleveland Browns changed the color of the orange on their helmets slightly this year, and I think it's because they couldn't get a trademark of their own color. It was too close to somebody else's, and now they can get it's a slightly different Pantone number, and now they get a trademark. That's my guess. So that's what trademark is all about. If you have an invention that you don't want to tell the world about, like the formula for Coke, or the formula for Colonel's original recipe, or to go back to software algorithms, the Google search algorithm has still never been patented. Because if they patent it, they have to tell the world about it. Now, they can afford to deploy an army of lawyers to keep anybody from using it for 20 years, but after the 20-year clock expires, if that alarm bell rings, it's open to the world. That's how patents work. So Google didn't tell anybody, right? There's like a half dozen people. Coke's famous about there's only like really 2 or 3 people who know the code formula.
Only Duke, no Bush.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
So for my website, I've always been told that copyright, of course patents are out, but I've never had mention of when I looked up the information about copyright, I didn't think it applied to what I was trying to do, and mine is not able to, it doesn't fall under the copyright.
It's one of those things. It's technically copyrightable, but the arrangement of the HTML code on the page, but there's lots of different ways to. The problem with programming the problem with computer programming in particular is there's so many different ways to achieve the same outcome. Yeah. Microsoft and Apple basically don't have copyright issues between their word processing programs. They're different. They do the same thing fundamentally, but they're enough different that it's. And you have to be willing to dig so far into the hood of software to really find these things.
Now for patents, I had for something else I was working on, I had spoken with an attorney, and the price is really high, but the main part of it is for the search. And so you suggest that it's worth going through, because I spoke with someone at the patent office, and they were saying, some guy told me you really could do it yourself possibly, but I didn't know if that was a wise move. I mean,
I'll tell you, to be a patent lawyer, you have to have You have to have a science background, I mean, you have to have biology or chemistry or physics, plus you have to go to law school. Right, I mean, and my background's in international relations, so I'm kind of in as much of those guys as anybody else. I think for trademarks are fairly easy to do, are okay to do by yourself. Patents, it's not impossible, but it's really hard.
How long does it take to, once you submit, like, cause now that what I said, I need trademark, not patent.
I think that's probably.
That's your logo.
Trademarks are
Yeah.
not terribly, they're a pretty quick turnaround. What you'll get is you'll get a thing called an office action. And if you, what I figured out, at least, and I think people are telling me this too, is if you submit your trademark without a lawyer, the trademark examiners are more likely to help you through the process. So I had a client who did that, with their brewery. And after like the second office action, he called me and I said, look, here's the problem, this, and this. Because he was trying to get a word trademark, but the two pieces of it were generic. And they wouldn't let the combination, but you can't add generic and generic to get it out, is what it amounts to.
Yeah.
So what they said was, we have to do the logo, so resubmit the logo. So he resubmitted the logo, again, without my name as the trademark attorney. And when he got the office action back on the logo, they basically said, you need to add this, this, and this to your description. Like, it's sort of a no but, right? The answer was no but. If you fixed it with this, and this, it would be okay. And he sent it to me, and I read it. He said, what should I do? I said, add that, send it back. They told this roadmap before. So.
And what you say, if you had been in the picture, they would have given a hard time when you had them at all.
Because they'd have expected me to know what I was doing, and I'm not a trademark attorney. I know people who are, happy to refer them.
Patent
But yeah,
attorney?
same deal.
Okay.
And I do think patents, with patents, it's getting the lawyer to understand the invention and be able to run a really good search to see if it's worth taking the time of submitting the application, right? So ideally with the search, you're saving yourself some time on trying, sort of asking the patent office, having them come back and say no. Right, you're buying some time with a lawyer helping shape it for you.
So why leave just call, we deliver all, them are generic words, and I cannot trade.
The longer, like a phrase like that, so he was trademarking like a 2-word brand name. But that's a whole phrase that the magic language is distinctive of goods or services in interstate commerce. Right. That, a whole phrase is easier because the more a bunch of different words together that you use all at the same time, that starts to become distinctive, right? That it's your phrase, not anybody else's.
So I can trademark that.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So do you use a Mac or PC?
Hmm?
Do you use a Mac or PC?
I use a Mac, but I use Microsoft Office because
Yeah.
because the Apple programs don't play well with those.
They don't play well though.
And y'all know why that is too.
They do on purpose.
They want you to buy everything.
And what they want you to do is
All work
encourage
together.
everybody else to buy pages as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I use Mac. I swore after years of working for law firms, big law firms and big companies that bought the cheapest Dell laptops they could buy in bulk, I swore I'd never do it again.
Can I video tape you saying that?
I'm gonna tell you, this is interesting, because now last year we had, did you know Brian, didn't you, over UT?
Yeah, we talked about it on Thursday. I know him by name, but not by.
Now, we have literally spent our entire 3 hours.
Wow.
Wow.
Most folks don't want
I'm
to get in
so
a
sorry.
room with an attorney 30 minutes, let alone 3 hours. That absolutely says Thank you for doing that. We may just swap out you with Brian. From here on out. I'll tell you the same thing. He's gonna give you his cards. Now, here's what that means. Everything in 5, which is the shortest week in terms of material. That's your whole week. Go through it. You're gonna read the stuff that he's already shared with you. You're gonna make your own decisions about how you're gonna structure your businesses. Some of you already have. But because he's answered everything, still read it. And keep doing your work, because I'm telling you now, from this point forward, it's all about numbers. So get that in your brain after this week. Think math, adding, subtracting, multiplying, percentages,
Even though
startup costs, I'm
I
sorry.
was gonna say, even though startup cost, we need to add like any fees or anything.
Absolutely. You know you're gonna now start getting an accountant, lawyer, what else you recommend again, Drew?
Accountant, lawyer, accountant, lawyer, and, insurance.
Absolutely. Those things are gonna be critical. People will sue you quickly.
Yeah.
And as he said, just because you insulate yourself, they still will try to figure out a way to sue everybody all at the same time. So they ain't gonna get everybody, but they gonna have everybody in the net. So you're gonna be caught up and you may have to spend some money to get uncaught. So these kind of things you can avoid on the front end. You factor them in as you're starting or launching your business or growing your business. Any other last questions for David? Let's thank him one more time. And see how real he talked to y'all?
Yeah.
I like it.
Like he knew y'all already.
Yeah.
That elevator pitch works.
Yes.
All right, we'll see you guys next Saturday, 8:45. We'll start from at 9. Hey, listen, we're gonna have 2 people next time, so try to get here so we can get the first one in 9:30, last one in
I would
11:30.
start with Bobby Robinson.
Everybody good?
It's one big. He's out at Franklin Square.